Our industry role players say the African continent is still lagging behind in productivity and yield efficiency within the agricultural sector. This is said to be translating into volatility in food prices, making food security a top priority in countries across the region. ABSA CIB's agriculture sector head Roux Wildenboer speaks to us now about the fragmented nature of this industry. Good morning to you, Roux. Let's first unpack what are the reasons, long-standing as they may be, with regards to the African continent lagging behind their global peers in this regard.
Good morning, Misa, and good morning to the viewers. Yes, look, let me start off by saying that there has been progress in agricultural production across Africa over the last number of decades. But as you rightly said, we're still lagging. And I think one of the main reasons is, if you look at the continent, is of course infrastructure development. I'm talking about the basic public goods like roads, electricity, water, ports, infrastructure, etc., etc. It is not at a level where we see these infrastructure goods as Europe and North and South America, of course. So that's one of the reasons, right? Another major reason is that we need some policy reform in various countries in Africa. We need more market-friendly regulation, and those regulations must be consistent so that it allows producers and investors to plan properly. Import and export rules, for instance, can be simplified. And then what we find in Africa is that we still have many food reserve agencies that act as buyers of various agricultural goods and products. And those agencies are typically not very efficient, and it's a hindrance to investment. So those are 2 or 3 major pillars, I think, where we can see improvement over the short to medium scale. And of course, you know, and this is a contentious issue, but where we've seen real yield developments and advancements in staple good production, it had to do with genetically modified seeds. You know, South Africa is on GM seeds, and we've been for the last 25 years enormous yield benefits. And those benefits of technology can also be gained to a certain extent in some of the countries which do not apply those technologies at the moment.
I'm interested in the latter part of your statement, particularly because most or some African countries are attending the World Economic Forum underway in Davos. They do so annually. What type of case should be made in this regard, pertaining to how Africa can then fast-track its involvement within the digitization of the agricultural sector?
So I think if we move to Davos, and I'm not an expert there, I think the big factor or facilitating factor African countries and producers need is access to markets and access to technology. So I think that will be a very big theme, or could be a very productive theme to pursue. You know, there's been quite a number of disruptions over the last 3-4 years internationally. Let's start with COVID, right? And COVID did a couple of things, or had a couple of consequences for the agricultural sector. The first is, and this is a positive one, even though it is ironic, and COVID was very tragic, is that it re-emphasized the importance of agricultural sectors and production for various countries across the world, because COVID stopped certain international logistic chains. And COVID also led to certain countries implementing limits and caps on their food exports, which had an impact on Africa. So in that respect, you know, liberalization and access to markets are very important. The next issue is, of course, the Russian-Ukraine war also led to various disruptions and serious price spikes and volatilities in the international markets. Yeah. So I think if you look at Davos, for me, it's all about trade and the flow of technology and information and the liberalization of markets. And what we've seen after COVID is that protectionism has reared its head again on the international scene. And that's the theme I think Africa must pursue. We do not want protectionism per se. There are instances where it's very necessary for countries to protect their local sectors, but it has to be with great circumspection.
Lastly, Roux, as you've indicated, the challenges that face this industry across the African continent, the near-term outlook for 2024, what is it in terms of positivity that we can handpick?
Yes, so I think, and I've alluded to that, Misa, is that we've seen a lot of great developments across the continent on some of these issues of regulation and infrastructure development. And I can cite real examples where we've seen a change of track of certain governments in the private sector that's led to a lot of investment and employment in the sector. So I hope that theme continues. I think it will. As far as production is concerned, I mean, Africa is a very big continent, and the results and the prospects are always varied, right? In terms of South Africa, I think we're seeing a good, or at least the summer season has started very, very well. And I think we'll have a reasonable maize and soy and sunflower harvest. It looks like sugar production, for instance, and this is largely due to good cooperation between the private and public sectors. In countries like Tanzania and Uganda is increasing. We're seeing investment in East and West Africa in fixed goods and processing units on various commodities, for instance, cashews, tea, and then also coffee and vegetable oils. So I think the movement is positive and it's in the right direction, but there are still many issues that need to be addressed, which can lead to even greater development at a faster pace.
We'll leave it on that positive note. Roux Wildenboer is with ABSA CIB. He's the agriculture sector head. They're talking to us about activity within the agricultural industry across the continent. It is said to still be lagging compared to global peers.